Welcome to the Tech Mobility Podcast.
I'm Ken Chester. We have been talking for years about the potential of Chinese manufacturers entering into the U.S. marketplace. And in some ways, they already have. A number of vehicles produced by nameplates that you may recognize have been building vehicles in China and exporting them to the United States for some time. Some Buicks, some Cadillacs back in the day, and Volvo S60 for a minute until Volvo opened their U.S. plant a few years back, were all made in China. I believe that the Buick Envision is still made in China and imported into the United States. So it's not completely infeasible. Let me introduce you to a company that you might have heard of. I will start by saying Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway owns a chunk of this company, and that this company is already selling vehicles in the United States. They're commercial vehicles. They're selling electric buses. The company that I am referring to is BYD, and they actually started as a rechargeable battery manufacturer in China not quite 30 years ago. And they've expanded greatly and built some of everything. And they're regarded as one of the largest EV manufacturers in China, if not the world. Why I'm bringing them up, why this is an interesting issue, is BYD is teaming with Uber to accelerate global EV transition. BYD and Uber's new partnership that they've recently announced aims to bring 100,000 BYD electric vehicles to the Uber platform, starting in Europe and Latin America. This agreement offers drivers competitive pricing and financing options and will expand to markets including the Middle East, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. This is amazing for two reasons. One, it puts their vehicles in the hands of folks that are going to be putting a lot of miles on them. So number one, they're getting a lot of feedback on the durability of their vehicles. Number two, they're expanding. This is a low-cost, no-cost way for them to expand their name into new markets without actually having to set up a dealer network and all of that. Three, it's a sideways opportunity to introduce every Uber rider to BYD. BYD currently sells one of the most inexpensive EVs in the world. They've got several models that sell for below $13,000 brand new. And the word is on the street that they're pretty good. And no, they're not uber fancy, but they get the job done and they're popular in China. Both companies will also collaborate on future autonomous vehicles. And that's also interesting to note. We have followed Uber's evolution into that space. Uber was originally founded in 2009 with an eye towards getting rid of the actual human driver and going autonomous. That is why they were independently for a number of years developing their own autonomous capabilities until that unfortunate mishap in Arizona with a Volvo using autonomous technology a few years back. And then from that point, they got away from it, choosing to partner with companies that are developing it on their own. So they got out of autonomous trucking. They got out of autonomous robo-taxis, if you will, and as far as developing the technology on their own. By teaming with BYD, Uber operates the most extensive on-demand EV network globally. And I mentioned earlier, BYD is a top producer of electric vehicles. The partnership aims to reduce the total cost of EV ownership for Uber drivers. Imagine if you can get into a brand new EV for your Uber side hustle for less than 15 grand new, and Uber is going to finance it, make it possible, and because Uber bought so many, perhaps BYD cut them a break. Maybe that $15,000 vehicle is now 12 or 10. So you got financing that Uber's providing, BYD providing the vehicles, and probably cutting a deal because in most fleet situations, the automaker, regardless of who they are, offers for that kind of volume, offers a break to the buyer. And this would be no different than what the industry's been doing for years. despite Uber drivers adopting electric vehicles at a rate 5 times faster than private car owners. Surveys indicate that the high cost and limited financing options are significant barriers, which they just removed. BYD vehicles offer lower maintenance and repair costs, a wide range of models, superior battery performance, and excellent build quality. Did I mention excellent build quality? I'll say that again, excellent build quality. So one thing that people forget, EVs having fewer parts make it easier to automate most of or a lot of the manufacturing process. Anytime you can automate that and eliminate variables, from vehicle to vehicle, from unit to unit, from job to job, so many jobs an hour, so many times a day, so many days a week, so many times a year. You get economies of scale, you get better at it, and you are able to continue to lower costs. The beautiful part about EVs is as you do that, the quality improves because you need fewer people that don't get tired, don't miss something, don't overlook something. Automation is consistent, job after job, hour after hour, day after day. And they're doing the best. And what I think is such a genius is the fact that it allows Uber passengers to be introduced not just to EVs, but to BYD's EVs. Uber says that many riders tell them that their first experience with an EV is on an Uber trip. If they have an excellent experience, what an awesome way to advertise. They are experiencing it in real time without having to go out their way to a dealer, try to drive one, find one, decide all sorts of things. And they can ask or have a conversation with the driver. You know, how many miles are you putting on it? How long? What is the range? What is your experience with this? So, in fact, every Uber driver that has a positive experience with this tie-up between Uber and BYD also, theoretically, becomes a salesperson for BYD. It doesn't get any better than this. My point is I don't believe that they're just going to stop in Europe and Latin America. I believe the day is coming really soon where BYD, who already has research and development facilities in the United States, will expand to Mexico, will expand to Canada. And I believe that someday in the future, it will only be a matter of time until BYD and Uber, under some kind of combination, introduces this to Uber drivers in the United States. If not, by that time, they have autonomous driving figured out, which honestly, with everything I've seen, I think that's way further away than BYD getting in the United States. I think that autonomous vehicles, as we know them across city streets, is still way far away. Trucking will be sooner. We've talked about why. Interstates are the same, and you're going from terminal to terminal. That's a whole different animal with a whole different skill set. But to have to navigate streets and cities and rural and all sorts of weather, I think that that is still further away than we originally assumed. But BYD, which is on a tear to grow, not just in China anymore, but worldwide, I think this is a brilliant idea. A brilliant idea on their behalf to make it possible to lower the cost of vehicle ownership for Uber drivers, to get a big amount of vehicles out there in all kinds of conditions, to further improve the brand by getting feedback and improving range. And no telling all the advantages that both companies will get, and create a platform for BYD for autonomous driving. 100,000 vehicles in Latin America, Middle East, Canada, and Australia. Awesome. You are listening to the Tech Mobility Show.
Are you tired of juggling multiple apps and platforms for meetings, webinars, and staying connected? Look no further than AONmeetings.com, the all-in-one browser-based platform that does it all. With AON Meetings, you can effortlessly communicate with clients, host virtual meetings and webinars, and stay in touch with family and friends, all in one place and for one price. Here's the best part. You can enjoy a 30-day free trial. It's time to simplify your life and boost your productivity. AONmeetings.com, where innovation meets connection. Get started today and revolutionize the way you communicate.
Social media is the main place to be these days, and we are no exception. I'm Ken Chester, the Tech Mobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Facebook videos. From my latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary of a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Facebook. You can find us by typing the Tech Mobility Show in the search bar. Be sure to subscribe to our Facebook page. Social media is the place to be these days, and we're no exception. I'm Ken Chester of the Tech Mobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Instagram videos. From the latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary on a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Instagram. You can find us by typing the Tech Mobility Show in the search bar. For those of you that listen to podcasts, we have just the one for you. Hi, I'm Ken Chester. Tech Mobility Topics is a podcast where I upload topic-specific videos each week. Shorter than the full show, these bite-sized programs are just the thing, particularly if you're interested in a particular topic covered on the weekly radio show. From Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and many podcast platforms in between, we got you covered. Just enter Tech Mobility Topics in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts.
Let's compare the legroom for passengers in the front seat of America's most luxurious cars. Chrysler Imperial, 42.8 inches. Lincoln Continental, 43.3 inches. Cadillac Eldorado, 43.4 inches. Fiat 128, 43.8 inches. More than the Imperial, the Continental, the Eldorado. Now that's luxury.
It might be. Problem is that the Fiat 128 is a fraction of the car of those larger cars. And notice, there were no German cars mentioned. Lexus didn't exist. This was 1975. This was 14 years before Lexus even came into the picture. Cadillac, Chrysler, Lincoln. Those were the luxury vehicles of the day some 50 years ago. How things have changed. And all of those would be considered land yachts today. If they came in anything less than 5,500 pounds, I'd have been impressed. Anything from 2.5 to 3 tons each car. The Fiat, if it weighed 2,750 pounds, I'd have been impressed. But they claim it had legroom. Well, I hope so, because reliability was not a hallmark of Fiat back in the day. So they had to brag about something. It's not strange to realize that drunk driving is pretty much illegal pretty much everywhere. What may be surprising to many is how each nation answers the question, what counts as drunk, differently. It seems that while most of the world defines drunk as a blood alcohol concentration, that's called a BAC, of 0.05, the United States is at 0.08. And experts say that's one of the reasons for the 13,500 drunk driving deaths in the United States each year. This is topic A. A few years ago, Utah elected to reduce their blood alcohol limit to 0.05. There was an uproar. Everybody, the hospitality industry said, people are not going to drink. It's going to impact us. Things are going to be bad for us. You can't do that. Oh, my goodness. Why would you do that? They were more concerned about the impact to the bottom line of their businesses than they were for the overall safety of the residents of the state of Utah. Let me tell you, because the federal government did studies after they passed that law. Let me tell you what happened in Utah after that happened. That was in 2018. In the year after the law took effect, fatal car crashes in the state dropped by nearly 20%. 20%. And it wasn't because people had become expert at imbibing at the exact right amount. Instead, the law discouraged people from driving after they've had a drink. All they knew is that the limit for drinking had been lowered and they better be careful. Here's something else studied the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration studied this, and they found the Utah law had no effect on alcohol, restaurant, or tourism revenue in Utah. No impact. Yet, by lowering it 0.03 to 0.5, it reduced fatal accidents in the state by 20%. A few years back, I did a piece about drunk driving levels. And the first thing that I learned opened my eyes, and I did not know this. And I'm going to share it with you again for those of you that may not have been with us when I did that piece. Do you know that at 0.01, that your motor skills and your ability to react begin to be impaired? The first drink you take, the first sip you take, at 0.01 blood alcohol concentration in your bloodstream, your ability to react behind the wheel is already impaired. Maybe not to the point of 0.08, but impaired. And honestly, up till 2000, something else I didn't know when I was researching this piece, that until the year 2000, 24 years ago, that every state could set their own blood alcohol limit, and some were as high as 0.1. What happened in 2000 is that the federal government told the states that unless you roll back to 0.08, we're going to cut off your federal highway funds. That's why it happened. You couldn't go above the federal standard, but you certainly could go below it. Utah chose some 18 years later to go below it. So worst case, 0.08 didn't get arrived at through some wonderfully scientific research by the federal government. It was a compromise between stakeholders in the hospitality industry and others that they felt they did not want to impair a person's right to drink. I have always said, and I'm going to say it again, there's absolutely, positively no excuse for drinking and getting behind the wheel. I'm not a prude. Certainly, those that choose to partake of adult beverages, certainly it's the United States, you have the right to do that. But the minute you do that and get behind the wheel of a motor vehicle to go on a road, now you've just made it everybody's business, including mine, and there's no excuse. No excuse. Drunk driving deaths have been falling for a number of years, but they're still too high. As I mentioned at the top of this piece, 13,500 people die in the United States of America due to a drunk driver every single year. And while that's less than it was back in the 90s when the rates were higher, depending on the state that you lived in or traveled through, it's still too high. Particularly if you are a family member impacted because you lost a loved one or you were injured in an accident. Seen enough of this. It is terrible. It is horrific. And it's something that really, in this day and time, we should not still be talking about. But we are. Here's what they also said. A 2017 analysis estimated that lowering the nation's legal limit to 0.05 would reduce alcohol-related fatal crashes by 11%, saving 1,800 lives per year. Drunk driving deaths have increased by nearly a quarter since that estimate was published, and that was 2017, suggesting even more lives could be saved today. This piece doesn't talk about those people who've been injured as a result of the actions of a drunk driver, or the dollar amount which runs in the billions of dollars in medical care and rehabilitation, not to mention lost time from work and other expenses. 1,800 lives plus. We know 0.01 and up, you're impaired. We know that just lowering it by 0.03 to 0.05 will save lives. Utah has already proven that in the last 5 to 6 years. People, what's the holdup? We really should pursue this. This is a no-brainer, and it's about as safe as it gets. And you don't want to be the one that has to find out the hard way that we should have made the move. A Rhode Island startup is developing eco-friendly building material from agricultural waste. This is the Tech Mobility Show. Do you listen to podcasts? Seems that most people do. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. If you've missed any of our weekly episodes on the radio, our podcast is a great way to listen. You can find the Tech Mobility Podcast just about anywhere you can enjoy podcasts. Be sure to follow us. From Apple Podcasts to iHeartRadio and many platforms in between, we are there. Just enter the Tech Mobility Podcast in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts. Social media. It's the place to be, and we're no exception. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Several times a week, I post to TikTok several of the topics that I cover on my weekly radio show. It's another way to keep up on mobility, technology, news, and information. I've built quite a library of short videos for your viewing pleasure, so be sure to watch, like, and subscribe. That's the Tech Mobility Show on TikTok. Check it out. I like finding pieces like this to share with you. And it's just another aspect of how what we do every day and the choices that we make every day, people are reimagining everything. It is the beauty of technology that we have the tools at our disposal where you don't have to assume anything and you can question everything. And we have some of the best and brightest minds that are doing just that. In this case, it's a company called EcoForge, and they're a Rhode Island-based startup that was founded by 2 Brown University graduates. The company is developing local and sustainable building materials from agricultural revenues and plants while supporting local communities. This is Topic B. We've talked about additive printing. We've talked about literally printing cement homes. We've talked about other building materials like pre-stressed wood, which the way that they put it together with glue is stronger than steel in some cases. There's a lot of ways where people are reimagining how we build things, where the materials are coming from, how to do it sustainably, which is a benefit for the planet. It conserves resources, which is also important, and provides a better quality of living in those areas where those materials are both used and sourced. EcoForge works by providing solutions such as material binding agents and fire-resisting agents to materials like hemp, a bio-based material that's carbon negative to interested parties and manufacturers. What are we talking about? They have materials that they can infuse into agricultural waste and others to make them viable choices when other companies are looking for materials to use in the creation of other materials used to build homes and businesses in a way that uses less resources, costs less, and is better for the planet. Unlike traditional materials that harm both people and the planet, EcoForge's materials significantly improve sustainability and ensure material health. EcoForge's bio-based building products help construction projects secure permits, reduce carbon emissions by up to 40%, and save on future energy costs, estimated at more than 15% on heating and cooling. Stop. I want to read that last part, because I know you heard the carbon emissions part, but did you hear the save on future energy costs estimated at more than 15% on heating and cooling? We've reported a lot about the growth in electrical demand, the growth in energy demand, driven primarily by AI, large language models, and how they work, by the data centers that use them, and then to a lesser degree by the EVs looking to recharge. the industry, the electrical industry, is scrambling to add capacity. Isn't it amazing that here's an example of a company looking to say, hey, in the midst of this scramble for more and more energy, here's a solution that actually uses less. That if you can implement this across a wide swath of the building industry, whether you're building homes or businesses, residential, commercial, however, you can save 15% on heating and cooling. You can reduce emissions by 40%. How does this not improve the planet? The two Brown University graduates, one has extensive experience in industrial design. They worked at NASA and Subaru, Nissan, and Amazon. They've worked on future clean mobility concepts and innovative products like the Kindle, and led global initiatives focused on sustainable materials. And they're passionate about it. The beautiful part about somebody who's been exposed to the automotive process is they understand two things real quick. One, they understand the need to get prices down. Two, they understand the need to use more common, lower cost materials. Is the thing I've said over and over and over that the auto industry does, a need to drive down cost per unit. It's relentless, and it doesn't matter whether it's internal combustion, hydrogen-powered, or battery electric. The industry has been consumed with this for over 100 years, and it never lets up. They spend billions, so tenths of a cent per unit is a major issue. That ends up becoming millions of dollars a year just out of one assembly plant. That's the thing a lot of people don't realize. So to have someone take that knowledge, take that discipline, and apply it to a whole different industry using waste, stuff that's being thrown away or left in the field that has no value. And suddenly now it has value, which also helps the planet, because if it's being pulled back in a supply chain, it's not out there rotting or causing other problems or having to be disposed of. The other graduate is a seasoned entrepreneur. Her startup was acquired by Apple, and she was the former head of product at Bumble. And she brings strong business acumen and operational expertise. I can't even emphasize that enough. You can have a brilliant idea, but if you don't have the rigor, if you don't have the knowledge of how to develop it and scale it up, hence operational expertise, how do we get this into production and scale it up to be commercially viable? You need somebody with that kind of rigor who has that experience. And in the case of EcoForge, they do. They both developed numerous products, and now they're focusing on products that significantly impact the health and planet of the world. Their technology, what are they using? Is highly compatible with various plants, allowing them to form building products by leveraging their natural material structures. Agricultural residues like hemp, cannabis waste, sunflower husks, sugarcane waste, corn cobs, and invasive plants like the Arundo donax, which is giant reed in Latin, are of particular interest to us. Invasive plants are used for invasive plants. They're invasive because they don't belong, and they try to force everything out. Now imagine you can use that and pluck it out of the very environment it's trying to invade. They're currently focusing on creating solutions such as zero volatile organic compounds, 95% bio-based binders, and highly compatible, sustainable, fire-resistant technology that works with hemp and cannabis waste. Say that again. Highly compatible, sustainable, fire-resistant technology that works with hemp and cannabis waste. They're looking to collaborate, as most small companies are, with interested companies and manufacturers to transform these faster-growing plants and agricultural residues into various building products. So who's their primary customer? Large manufacturers seeking innovation and reduce carbon footprints through selling or licensing their ecologically safe material solutions. Secondary customers, who include corporate owners and real estate firms who renovate frequently to meet ESG goals. They're battling against traditional companies doing things traditionally, using up a lot of energy and generating a lot of carbon emissions. These companies still have a strong influence in the market, and they've got their industry equipment tuned for their specifications, making it challenging for new entrants like them. But this was in Fast Money's Up and Comers, so we haven't heard the last of EcoForge, for sure, and they're just reimagining how things could be. A coalition of trade groups want Congress to act to expand safe commercial truck parking across the nation. We are the Tech Mobility Show. To learn more about the Tech Mobility Show, start by visiting our website. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. The website is a treasure trove of information about me and the show, as well as where to find it on the radio across the country. Keep up with the happenings at the Tech Mobility Show by visiting techmobility.show. That's techmobility.show. You can also drop us a line at talk@techmobility.show. Did you know that Tech Mobility has a YouTube channel? Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Each week, I upload a few short videos of some of the hot topics that I cover during my weekly radio program. I've designed these videos to be informative and entertaining. It's another way to keep up on current mobility and technology news and information. Be sure to watch, like, and subscribe to my channel. That's the Tech Mobility Show on YouTube. Check it out.
Are you tired of juggling multiple apps and platforms for meetings, webinars, and staying connected? Look no further than aonmeetings.com, the all-in-one browser-based platform that does it all. With AON Meetings, you can effortlessly communicate with clients, host virtual meetings and webinars, and stay in touch with family and friends, all in one place and for one price. Here's the best part. You can enjoy a 30-day free trial. It's time to simplify your life and boost your productivity. aonmeetings.com, where innovation meets connection. Get started today and revolutionize the way you communicate.
Social media is the place to be these days, and we're no exception. I'm Ken Chester of the Tech Mobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Instagram videos. From the latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary on a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Instagram. You can find us by typing the Tech Mobility Show in the search bar. A coalition of trade groups led by the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association are urging the House of Representatives, the U.S. House of Representative leaders, to pass a truck parking bill to expand truck parking across the United States. This bill, honest to God, has been kicking around Congress now for over 3 years. This is topic C. And you might wonder, truck parking, big deal. Why is that a big deal? Actually, it is. And it actually has a variety of reasons why it matters to you as a U.S. citizen and driver over America's highways, byways, and interstates, why it matters. Let's break this down. Right now, there is 313,000 commercial truck spaces in the United States. They need 10 times that number. Why does that matter? Let me tell you why. For those of you who are in commercial trucking, you know about that term, federal hours of service. It means over a 24-hour period that the trucker could only be behind the wheel for so many consecutive hours. Then they must absolutely, positively pull off the road, shut off the engine. They cannot drive. Back in the day, when they had truck logs, which were written logs, you might have fudged the numbers. Nowadays, these electronic logs, you cannot fudge these. And you will get nicked, and you will have dire consequences for breaking that law. Truckers need a safe place to park. Trucks weigh 40 to 60 tons. Drivers need a safe place to pull off and get some sleep and get rejuvenated. The last thing you need is a tired trucker hauling at speed that much weight. And because they're tired, they're inattentive. You see where I'm going with this. You don't want that. Also, trucker safety. I mean, for the load that they're carrying and their own personal safety. If they are on, and you've seen it in your travels, if you've traveled in an interstate, you've gone across country, particularly all hours of the night, you've seen truck drivers on on-ramps and off-ramps parked. They hit their hours of service. They couldn't find a parking space. By the way, them parked there, that's illegal. But they're running up against two different problems. They cannot legally drive once they've hit that deadline, that number, when they've accumulated that many hours behind the wheels. They must pull over. Statistically, right now, 70% of commercial truckers have exceeded their hours of service in the attempt to find a safe place to park. And honestly, if you're out there, particularly out here in the Midwest, on a desolate off-ramp in the middle of nowhere, how much protection do you really have? You don't. And that's continuing stress. And that's just for drivers in general. Having safe parking also comes up when you're talking about female truck drivers. It's more of an issue. Safe truck parking availability critical to retain women truck drivers. And this is talking about workforce recruiting and retention out of an industry trade publication, FreightWaves. Access to safe parking was ranked as the top issue by focus group participants in a 2024 survey conducted by American Transportation Research Institute. The survey, which looked at identifying and mitigating challenges faced by women truck drivers, found that more than 41% of women drivers struggle to find parking daily. The report pointed out several suggestions to increase personal safety at parking facilities, including bringing a dog, having a co-driver, parking in well-lit areas, and research parking facilities in advance. The necessity for secure parking extends beyond personal safety and logistical concern. It's a matter of basic human dignity. Many women leave the industry due to safety concerns, which highlights the need for trucking companies to prioritize safe parking solutions. Truck drivers spend hours on the road, ensuring that goods are delivered across the country. And after a hard day's work, they deserve a safe and secure place to rest, just like anyone else. And without the safe parking, drivers face risk of theft, assault, and other dangers. And this constant threat undermines their sense of security and well-being. You do not need a stressed truck driver behind the wheel. You need them dialed in, rested, and paying attention. Here's what they said when they ended this. Safe parking impacts their health and job satisfaction, talking about truck drivers. When drivers can rest without fear, they're more likely to be alert and effective on the road. This benefits not only the drivers, but the public, as well-rested drivers contribute to safer highways. I want to let that just sink in for a minute. A few states are moving the needle on making truck parking a priority. In Minnesota, $7.75 million is allocated in fiscal year 2025 for construction and expansion of truck parking off of Interstate 94. A New Jersey Assembly bill would implement a rule for truck parking at warehouse developments. Other states, such as Georgia and New York, are also looking to address truck parking concerns. This next statement is bittersweet. I'll explain it in a minute. I mentioned earlier, according to a 2019 Jason's Law survey, there were about 313,000 truck parking spaces across the country, and I said that at the top of the piece. The Federal Highway Administration stated that a national Jason's Law truck parking survey will be reissued later this year. Enacted in 2012, Jason's Law is named in memory for Jason Rivenberg, a truck driver tragically murdered in 2009 while parked at an abandoned gas station due to a lack of parking options. The Federal Highway Administration stated that Jason's Law requires the Department of Transportation to issue a truck parking survey and assessment every few years, with its previous surveys conducted in 2014 and 2019. Every few years looks like in about 5 years. And it's sad that it takes a federal law named for a slain truck driver to point this out. They're looking for roughly $755 million to build safe truck parking facilities across the United States and get these truckers off the shoulders, out of desolate areas, and into safe areas where their cargo can be safe, where their lives can be safe, and they can be more concerned about getting a good rest and being attentive behind the wheel. It is an issue, and it is a quality of life issue. It is a driver retention issue. And we talked a great deal about the need for over-the-road truckers because they will tell you 70% of everything that we have showed up by truck. And you've seen the signs. If you received something, if you went to the grocery store and bought groceries, thank a trucker. Wouldn't it be better to make sure that the men and women behind the wheel are safe and the merchandise is safe, that their trucks are safe? Just saying. We've come to the end of our visit. Be sure to join me again right here next time. You have been listening to Tech Mobility Show.
The Tech Mobility Show is a copywritten production of Tech Mobility Productions, Incorporated. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, or any other use is prohibited without the written consent of Tech Mobility Productions, Incorporated.
For those of you that listen to podcasts, we have just the one for you. Hi, I'm Ken Chester. Tech Mobility Topics is a podcast where I upload topic-specific videos each week. Shorter than the full show, these bite-sized programs are just the thing, particularly if you're interested in a particular topic covered on the weekly radio show. From Apple Podcast to iHeartRadio and many podcast platforms in between, we got you covered. Just enter Tech Mobility Topics in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts. Social media. It's the place to be, and we're no exception. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Several times a week, I post to TikTok several of the topics that I cover on my weekly radio show. It's another way to keep up on mobility, technology, news, and information. I've built quite a library of short videos for your viewing pleasure, so be sure to watch, like, and subscribe. That's the Tech Mobility Show on TikTok. Check it out. To learn more about the Tech Mobility Show, start by visiting our website. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. The website is a treasure trove of information about me and the show, as well as where to find it on the radio across the country. Keep up with the happenings at the Tech Mobility Show by visiting techmobility.show. That's techmobility.show. You can also drop us a line at talk@techmobility.show. Do you listen to podcasts? Seems that most people do. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. If you missed any of our weekly episodes on the radio, our podcast is a great way to listen. You can find the Tech Mobility Podcast just about anywhere you can enjoy podcasts. Be sure to follow us. From Apple Podcasts to iHeartRadio and many platforms in between, we are there. Just enter the Tech Mobility Podcast in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts.